Hi there, business owner. Do you want a better understanding of business finance, what your numbers actually mean, and stories of the highs and lows of business, where I'll be sharing my tips and tricks every week? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to the 3Bs podcast with Stephanie. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast. As always, I'm your host Stephanie and we are at episode 52. I don't know how it happened. It's been almost a year. And as the title of this episode suggests, we are at the end of an era. Today's episode will be a little different because we're closing one chapter and opening another. So strap yourselves in for an exciting ride and on with the episode. Before we dive into the future, if any of you have listened to the previous episodes, you will often hear me say how important it is to review and reflect on how far you've come, whether that's in life, in business, in a hobby. It's so important. So I want to take a moment to reflect on how far we've come together in the 3Bs podcast. From our very first episode in April 2023, we've explored the world of finance, entrepreneurship, and empowerment. We have had amazing guests on for some of the episodes, and we've discussed topics from marketing to PR to finance and business strategy and everything in between. We've learned and laughed and grown as a community, and I could not be more grateful for each and every one of you who have been a part of this journey, whether this is the first episode you're listening to, whether you started with us at episode 1 or joined somewhere in between. It means a lot. The 3Bs podcast was born out of a need for shorter, sharper, more impactful podcasts because there wasn't any on the market. Sure, the Diary of a CEO is amazing. The High Performance with Jake Humphries is incredible. And if you're in the bookkeeping world, the Bookkeepers podcast is a fantastic resource of information. But they are all 30 minutes to an hour long episodes, sometimes even more. And as a busy business owner, I just didn't have the time to listen to an episode in one foul swoop. And because I couldn't find anything shorter, I knew my clients and I needed something on the market. So I decided to make my own. That's how things often work for me in business, is I see something that doesn't exist, so I build it, or I find people that can build it for me to solve that need, that gap in the market. So the 3Bs podcast was born purposefully in 15-minute bite-sized episodes so that you could walk away after just 15 minutes, whether you're popping it in your ear on the school run, you're on the commute on the train, or you're even walking the dog, and just leave with that knowledge, empowerment, and a little bit of learning in that 15-minute weekly episode. So you might be thinking to yourself, Stephanie, you still sound so enthusiastic and passionate about the 3Bs podcast. Why on earth is this episode called The End of an Era? Why are you stopping? Well, the good news is I'm not stopping. I am building bigger and better. When this podcast started, it was an extension of my current bookkeeping and accountancy practice, ABCS UK, and it has grown so much in the past year that actually this needs to be a standalone podcast. Our messaging has changed, the target audience and the analytics of the people that are listening to this podcast are different from the ideal client of the practice. And actually, this no longer is a bookkeeping podcast mixed with business. This is whole business development from the beginning, and as such, needs to stand on its own. You're still going to get the insightful discussions, the 15-minute weekly episodes, the learnings, the expert interviews, the motivation, the empowerment, as well as the practical tips and tricks you've grown to know and love, alongside my experiences as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, so that you don't feel quite so alone in this business world. I'm also going to be adding in new segments, bonus content, and exciting collaborations I cannot wait to share with you to keep you engaged and inspired. There'll be new branding because it fits so much better now. It's a standalone product, and it's something that I have been squirreling away at for a while, and I'm really excited to share with the world. I'm also going to be adding in a lot more personal finance to the podcast. So as business owners, if we can get our personal finances under control, it makes us make better business decisions, and then we can all build a better business together. And in true the 3Bs podcast style, I could not put out an episode without giving some valuable tip, trick, or insight to help you build a better business. For those that don't realise, a 3B stands for building better business. So it just fully makes sense that I would provide some sort of value, even in this short 15-minute episode. And this week, I want to share a valuable tip that has revolutionized the way I approach goal setting. Now, you can go back to previous episodes and listen to the goal setting that I do, listen to the planning that we do as a practice, and what I get my clients to do as well. I had a meeting with a lovely lady called Holly, and she talked to me about OKRs. And I've heard of OKRs before, and I've used OKRs many a times without realizing that that's what I was doing. So consciously knowing about OKRs can really revolutionize the way that you approach goal setting and the results you're going to get off the back of that. OKRs stand for Objectives and Key Results. This framework is used by companies like Google, and it encourages setting ambitious yet achievable objectives and measurable key results to track your progress. And it's a process that we use for both personal and business goals with my employees and myself in the practice. So if you align your efforts with clear objectives and measurable outcomes, you can focus your energy on what truly matters and drive meaningful results. The way I like to think about this is I love a SMART goal and I love a SMART objective. But with my OKRs, I will set a personal goal and then check in weekly to see if I'm doing it. And it also helps during the week as when I make decisions and business decisions about what I'm going to do, I think, is this going to help me get to the OKR? Is this going to help me get to that objective? They're often a lot smaller, even though they're ambitious, they're often a lot smaller than those big, scary SMART goals that we set. So I find them much more achievable, and you're more motivated to achieve them because they feel a lot more achievable. And as you meet your OKRs week after week, you increase them, you gradually build. And then before you know it, you're 10 steps ahead of where you were when you originally set that first OKR. And I really thrive off that sort of achievement. So as we embark on the new chapter of the 3Bs podcast, we are implementing OKRs, and I implore you to have a look at setting your own personal and professional goals using the OKR framework. If you don't understand the OKR framework or want advice or want our template that we use, then feel free to find us on Instagram and send us a DM, and we'll send you over our framework so that you can start setting your OKRs the same way we do. I want to take a second and really take this moment to express my most heartfelt and deepest gratitude and thank yous to each and every one of you who has supported the 3Bs podcast along the way. As I said earlier, whether you've been tuning in since day one or you've only just discovered the podcast recently, your enthusiasm, your feedback, your engagement, your sharing it to other business owners truly means the world to me. I am so well aware that this podcast would not be what it is without you, and without you sharing it to other business owners, we can't go any further. So I cannot wait to continue this journey together with the 3Bs, and join us and share this with us and help us build this community of business owners that are all succeeding and achieving their own goals constantly and building better businesses. So, as we embark on this new chapter with the 3Bs podcast, I welcome you to come along for the journey and come along for the ride. In fact, I personally invite you to come along and join the 3Bs community and share this with fellow business owners so that the community can get even bigger. You can follow us on social media. I've popped the link to our new Instagram in the show notes. You can subscribe to our newsletter and stay tuned for updates on our website. Most importantly, above everything else, please keep sharing your thoughts with us, your ideas and stories as entrepreneurs. This podcast is as much yours as it is mine, and I am a huge control freak. If you've listened to past episodes, you will know that sharing is not something I'm very good at. But nothing brings me more joy than hearing from you all that you have listened to the podcast and implemented some of the learnings, or you've taken motivation from the things or my guests have said and are building better businesses. If I've not said it enough this episode, I really want you to succeed. I want you to build a better business. I want you to achieve all of your goals faster, quicker, more streamlined, and with as little heartache as possible. So please share this with a fellow business owner, and let's all build better businesses together. Thank you once again from the bottom of my heart for being a part of the 3Bs podcast family, the 3Bs podcast community. I am so excited for what the future holds. I can't wait to share with you the things I've got coming up, and I hope you are too. Until next time, which luckily for you is only a week away, we're not taking a break or anything. You'll find everything out next week on the 4th of the 4th, 2024. Remember to dream big, work hard, always believe in yourself. If you do not believe in yourself and need some confidence, please take mine, because I was once in your shoes. I am Stephanie. I am founder and host of the 3Bs podcast. I am signing off for the week, but not for long. Stay tuned for more adventures with the 3Bs podcast. Happy Easter. Enjoy that long weekend, or if you're working through like I am, I hope you make great progress and have great success, and I will see you next week. And that brings us to the end of another week of the 3Bs podcast with Stephanie. Thank you so much for listening. I'd really appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, rate and review this podcast wherever you are listening to it, so that I can reach more business owners and help them build better businesses. See you next week for the next episode.